Actions are shown in a hall full of aristocrats. It was an auction of young girls. They came out one by one when they voiced their characteristics. One of them was sent and, upon its exit, began firing with the help of magic. The rest also continued the rebellion. 2 agents hid on the hill. They were on a mission to kill certain members of the mafia group. When the sniper killed 6, he began to gather, and his partner was indignant because they did not kill everyone. But perhaps this was part of the plan. Approaching the car, the sniper noticed a flying drone, which managed to spot them. Border guards were sent to them when they had already rushed into motion. He came up with a plan to distract the drone's thermal imagers. Attaching the cannon and leaving the canister open, they jumped out at full speed. They managed to escape, but the girl was wounded. Together, they gathered to wait out the night for complete safety. After this assignment, he was going to retire to Japan, where he would train the same killers as he was. His partner was not experienced and very easily succumbed to his tricks. In the morning, they were sent a container with false passports and tickets to Japan. Already on the plane, it turned out that the company did not want to let him go so easily and planted a bomb in the control cabin. So the best killer on Earth was killed. But just like that, he did not die, and the goddess called him to her, giving 2 options for his continued existence. The first option, he could be reborn as an ordinary person and forget his past life. And the second option is to preserve the personality but fulfill one wish for the goddess. She downloads into his mind all the differences about this world and downloads the best characteristics to him. She also gives him a choice of 5 elements. The condition was to kill one hero who would someday capture the title of Demon Lord. The goddess exceeds her powers but hides behind the fact that everything is accidental. He chooses skills that complement each other and the 4 most basic elements. He is reborn into a noble family of assassins and is named Liu Totade. Already at the age of 7, he was training with a bow, but he could not use magic yet. He often cooks himself in order to eat properly in order to grow up healthy for future fights. Parents admire his culinary skills and intelligence beyond his years. His father gave him a body check every week to determine how to train him in the future. Also, his family was very famous in medicine and could at any moment become a very important weapon of the kingdom. After checking, the father announced that Liu was ready for the operation. These were the new eyes of the Totade family. After healing, he could focus on any very distant object and could see mana in people. Soon, the famous teacher Dia arrived to him who could teach him magic. She was the same prodigy, but only 3 years older. The teacher originally wanted to test him for the amount of mana. Dia gave him a stone that absorbs mana. Liu absorbed so much mana that the stone exploded in a huge explosion. Parents immediately came running and became proud of him. Dia stayed with them and even called him her little brother. The next day, she determined his elements. She had never seen magicians with 3 elements, but Liu wielded all 4. The teacher admired his progress and had already taught him how to use magic. Liu even learned how to cast spells, as that was one of his skills. Together with Dia, they even created a spell for gold. She couldn't create them herself, but she could use them. 2 weeks have passed and it's time for them to say goodbye. Liu gives her a beta titanium alloy blade that even cuts parchment flying to him. Dia gives him that stone showing the amount of your mana. They promise each other to meet again. In the morning, the family sees off the teacher and together with his father, Liu goes to prison. Father says it's time to make the first kill. It was a 19-year-old girl who killed and robbed the elderly. She begged for mercy, but when Liu cut off her hand with his very sharp blade, she cursed him. To keep her quiet, he had to finish off the girl. The family arrived at the market, where his meat stew was already in great demand. Mother Liu always wanted to be with him like a child. He himself looks out for a man with high mana in the crowd, because he believes that he needs a good mentor. Liu comes to the forest to test his skills. He hears the howling of the wolves and sees how they surround the harmless girl. He spends his training on 5 opponents. Liu protects the girl and cooks her food, forcing her to eat slowly. Tarda says that she comes from a poor family, and her parents kicked her out because of the lack of food. Liu invites her to come with him, on the condition that she will help him in everything she can. When he was 12 years old, Tarda was already prettier and was a servant in the house. Liu did the same physical exams for her because he was her trainer. While Tarda owned only one type of weapon, a spear, Liu created a folding spear for her, and she immediately changed in skills. The market prospered well, and when Liu came there, he was showered with gifts. The father talks to his son and believes that Tarda was sent to them, but Liu assures him that he was following her and did not notice anything. He also says that it's time to become a full member of the Totade family. Liu had to fight his father. The battle took place in the forest, where the father had a huge advantage. His father caught him in his traps. Liu decided to wait for the attack, and when his father made another attack, the knife was already at his throat. The father says that he has nothing more to teach him. Now together, they carry out difficult tasks to kill important people. The father presents his son in full force before the nobility. One guy, Ronak, is indignant that such a 12-year-old kid will be a heir. They arrange a duel, but a second after the start, Liu has already put a knife to his opponent's throat. The two of them meet where Liu calls Ronak into his servants after his accession to the throne and gives him a beautiful light sword. Liu goes on his last assignment, and for this he goes to a trading city for 2 years to learn this business. Girls who worked as guides walked along the streets there. They gradually collected money and dreamed of saving up for a house. One day they were attacked. The girls were taken to an orphanage where they were beaten, not fed, and forced to work. They were given a bag of potatoes and carrots for a whole week. After a while, they began to wash one girl every day and then take her somewhere. It turned out that they made money by giving the girls to rich aristocrats to be torn to pieces. After a while, a few more were subjected to such manipulation. Some of them could not even stand it and inflicted scars on their faces if only they would not use them. One day, Liu arrived under cover. He bought one girl, Mahu, but they will give her only after 3 days. He took a promise from them that during this time nothing would happen to the girl. But the director of the shelter, the main robber, took her to sell her virginity for a lot of money, and for the remaining 2 days he wanted to have fun with her. Ma tried to escape from the carriage on the move, but 2 robbers surrounded her. Then Liu arrived. He handed over each in the hands of justice, and the rest of the girls released and healed their wounds. Ma went with Liu. She officially became his younger sister. Liu's undercover name is Mr. Ilig. He arrived here only 6 months ago, and he has already been entrusted with the management of one store. Ilig wants to get closer to the nobles, so he wants to open a shop selling goods for girls. He comes up with a new tool, a moisturizer that prevents dry skin because cosmetics harm it. Production will not be very numerous yet, and one of the ingredients was from the Totate family. Soon the store grew very large, and those rescued girls were taken as workers. Ilig understood that his recipe, which surprises every girl, would be stolen. And sure enough, one of these sneaked up on the roof at night, but Maha was able to neutralize it. They tried to pry out of him who sent him. Ilig began to see Dia more often, and they spent a lot of time together. He helped her complete many spells and gave her dark chocolate. The workers are again attacked in the street, but this time Maha saves them. Ilig had a double, who at that time promoted him to the light. The workers thank Ilig for rescuing and for appropriating the job because he is leaving. Maha stays and will keep an eye on the store, and Tarta goes with him. Along the way, Liu begins to feel someone's mana. They were dire wolves. Tarta asks to let her demonstrate her skills on them and copes with him in no time. Already at the estate, they are first met by their mother with kisses and hugs. The father admires and notes that Liu has matured. Every nobleman already knew about this store. The father notes that the role of a merchant is more suitable for him, because the burden of the killer is very difficult. Liu remains unconvinced and wants to protect the kingdom. He also admits that he wants to marry Dia. His father immediately gives him a task to kill. This was the first order where he was not in the role of father's assistant, but acted on his own. He will take Tartu with him on a mission. Mom shows excessive care and wants to become a grandmother as soon as possible. Upon arrival in a new city, the girl immediately runs up to them, offering gooseberry jam. Liu realizes that she is using it and breaking the basket. A gang comes out on them. They deal with them, and the jam turns out to be a drug. The girl who sold it had a sick mother. She rushed at her daughter so that she would bring another dose. Liu cured her of the psychological cravings and left. Liu's target was Count Bolon Jinkor, who was the head of this drug system. Liu meets with Maha, where she says that it's time for him to turn his male attention to at least one. Together, they stay at the Jinkor estate under the pretext that his wife should be the first to try a new remedy from the Ilig store. Maha and Liu stay with them to learn more about their goal. A few days later, having found out that every evening Bolon went out to the balcony to drink wine, Liu and Tarta with a rifle looked out for him. He fires a shot, but in this life, murders leave a bigger mark on his heart than in the last. The order has been completed. At the next meeting with Matrak, she reports that she has found a treasure with valuable artifacts, weapons, and the fact that a war has begun in the neighboring kingdom, and a very strong warrior is fighting on one of the sides. Liu stays with Dia, where he wants to take her under protection from the coming war. Dia changes her look and the two of them go for a walk. They have a snack in an expensive restaurant with lasagna. Liu promises her to cook his lasagna when Dia arrives at his estate. They notice a little boy sitting by the stairs. He lost his mother. Dia finds her with magic and takes him away. Turns out Dia rented an entire hot spring. In this country, it was indecent to be ashamed of a naked body, and together they went to the source. She admits that she cannot go with him because her father is a military man and she will be waiting for him. They say goodbye and they will be able to meet only after the resolution of the conflict. Dia promises to give him a sign when it's time to meet. Upon arriving at the manor, Liu sees a wounded body on the floor and is informed by his father that Dia Vicorn will be the next target. Count Vicorn is considered the instigator of a new civil war because his daughter is the most desirable girl in the kingdom because of her magical abilities. The customer was Vicorn himself to get rid of his daughter. It turns out that Liu's mother is from the Vicorn house, and it turns out that Dia is his cousin. Tarda wants to help him get there because the kingdom is 300 kilometers away. She creates a wind shield and runs ahead, cutting through the air. Tarda's strength dried up and Liu continued on his own. Upon arrival, he sees that about 1,500 warriors have gathered near the walls, and most of them are magicians. The balls that stored Liu's mana exploded when they hit the enemy. Since he went around them from the rear, the army already had huge losses from sudden blows. Liu quietly sneaks into Dia's ruin to fake her death in the future. Her father stood next to her and said that they were locked up here. They come up with a plan to kill Dia by planting a fake corpse. In the window, he notices one warrior who exterminates the army in a couple of blows. Liu hits him once, but he only rejoices that he feels pain. This warrior is Satme Magnes. It was he who owned the artifact spear. They agree to a duel with Liu, although he knows that his berserk ability is very strong. Satan thanks him for the first time he tastes his own blood. Liu tells the others to back off as the duel could be very devastating. Their fight should decide the outcome of the war, and if Liu loses, then Satan will take Dia for herself and kill the rest. Throwing a coin, he caused a huge explosion because it was one of the spells that he managed to develop. Not a trace remains of Satan. All the enemies fled, and therefore Liu failed the task for the first time in his life because no one ever saw the dead body of Dia.